back to round 5 of the MotoAmerica Championship. You know what? Quicksilver latest motorsports rider Bobby Fong sits on row number 2, and he's the fastest of our Superstock 1000 riders. So we thought we'd give him a Kawasaki rider profile.
Well, the season's been really good. We started out round 1, we got the double there. You know, every weekend and week out we've been top 3, which is the class is real competitive this year. And also we've stepped up our level with the Kawasaki ZX-10R. And you know, we're second in the championship, so hopefully try to regain the points lead after this weekend. We're going good this weekend and trying to get our race pace set up for today. So we'll see what happens. I'm not just satisfied winning the Superstock class. You know, I'm a racer. I want to win everything. You know, if I could get on the Superbike podium, that's the main goal, week in and week out, especially. Yeah, it's cool, Superstock. It would be more cool if we had our own class, actually, instead of racing against, you know, some really high-budgeted motorcycles. But, you know, my ultimate goal is to shoot for the stars and win the whole thing. But I'm just going to do the best I can to stay on the bike and just accumulate some points. We still have a lot of races to go, and I believe we can do the damn thing.
All right, the Kawasaki pre-race show is powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. And brought to you in part by Dunlop and the all-new Sport Max Q3 Plus. Now you don't have to sacrifice mileage to get top performance. Dunlop Q3 Plus. All right, we're staying right here. Let's take a look at the starting grid on how things shaped up here in the Motul Superbike and Bazzaz Superstock 1000 class, because it was spectacular by Roger Hayden, who set a 148.941, an outright lap record here in qualifying.
Yep, and Tony was very close. Josh Hayes, who had a great lap going, lost a little bit in the last bit, but he's pretty happy with his qualifying. You saw Bobby Fong back there. Go to row 3. This is the shock one for me. Cameron Beaubier starting from row 3. Danny Eslick, Jake Lewis rounding out that row. Hayden Gillum, Jake Gagne, who we saw is not going to start. Josh Herron had a problem in free practice 4 this morning and didn't get a qualifying time. And Jason DeSalvo, good to see him back. Bryce Prince, Dave Anthony on the outside of row 5. Max Flinders, Matthew Orange, and Roy Holster qualified for his first race of the year back in row 6 on the Jelly Bellies R1, or Jelly Bellies Racing R1. So good to see him getting an outside sponsor and making the grid today.
So a good look at the starting grid here in MotoAmerica Superbike class. Of course, the Motul Superbike class and Bazzaz Superstock 1000 races inside of that race, and a good look at Bobby Fong as he is battling it out for the Superstock Championship with Matthew Skoltz and Jake Lewis. Danny Eslick also in the mix as we sit here on this grid, and riders being shaded in anticipation of what's to come. If you've never come to a MotoAmerica race before, it's definitely something you've got to try, because this procedure right here, what happens is we're going to clear this grid in a matter of minutes, and Roger Hayden has got all this work to do. Does he have the race setup, the ability to take that pole position and turn it into a race win? Boy, that's going to be the big question, because I think all eyes are on the consistency of Toni Elias, the championship points leader, the rider right here who already has 4 wins on the season.
I think he's going to be a hard one to beat today. He's put in a lot of long runs. He was quickest in both sessions yesterday. But there's just something about Raj right now. You know, I think he had a great bike in the second race at Road America that was cut very short because of Josh Herron. We had a little red flag there. Bike blew up at the end of the straight. And but Tony's, you know, he won that race. But Raj wants to turn one of these pole positions into a race win, Greg. And I think that you know, he's got a good shot at it today. And you know, he's even concerned. What about this guy, Josh Hayes? Josh back up on the front row today. He's hungry. He wants to go out and try to show these guys that he can stay with them, and he wants to get another race win under his belt also.
Josh Hayes, you know, sitting on those 82 points right now. 160 is leading the way. Just not what we expected from Josh Hayes this season. Not what he expected from himself either, with 1 win and 1 third-place finish. Only 2 podiums on the season, but also with a DNF and a DNS, as we know, as it did not start. So Hayes still a little sore from what happened a couple weeks ago at Road America.
He sent me some photos that I wouldn't share with people, but he sent me some photos after that accident. He was black and blue everywhere. And that poor guy, he went through the ringer, and he's been doing He hasn't been able to get back to his full training regimen that he normally would do, just because he's been trying to let his body heal and get healthy. And but for him to come back here and muscle his way up onto that front row with a very competitive time, by the way, 49.3. You know, he's only 0.4 off Raj, 0.1 off of this guy here, Toni Elias. So, you know, we'll have a good look at Josh. And if there's anybody who's going to give it a go, you know, it's going to be him.
And I think the question here, too, is Dunlop tires. In terms of what is your tire choice, Dunlop has a tire that goes the distance, no problem. But a lot of the riders like the feel of the softer available tire. But it looks like Toni Elias is going to have to run the hard tire. And you're the championship points leader. If it works for you, I'm sure you're going to have to do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That you're going to want to go along with whatever the guy who's leading the championship is doing, because you don't want to put yourself in any kind of big disadvantage unless you really feel like you can do something. There's a good look at Matthew Skultz, qualified 6th today, second of our Superstock battles. Guys that you're going to see in the battle here with Jake Lewis just behind him. You see Kyle Wyman off to his left. Kyle got 6th in that qualifying session after not riding at Road America.
Matthew Skultz with an off yesterday, had a crash in that Yamaha Westby Racing motorcycle, as had Cameron Beaubier as well, if you didn't catch our coverage on BN Connect when we were talking about Superpole. But Roger Hayden right now is the class of the field. After Superpole, he told us via interview that it was basically a perfect lap and he couldn't do it again. A really interesting thing to hear from a rider who riders hardly ever admit when they actually nail the perfect lap.
Even when you set pole, you come in, you tell your crew, oh, I left a couple tenths out there, you know? Even though you out-qualify somebody by 0.3 of a second, you know, you're always telling everybody you left a little bit out there, and he hasn't left anything out there.
HJC Spider-Man helmet, we'll tell you more about that tomorrow when you tune in to watch Superbike race number 2. But now it's time for the warm-up lap. And Bobby Fong on the number 50. That's the Kawasaki Superstock 1000 machine. He likes to get out early and try to set some pace. But you know what? Josh Hayes, number 4. He's got this thing on the Monster Energy Yamaha Factory Racing machine. He's on the front row, and if he gets a good start, you know he likes to set the pace.
Never likes to follow, does Josh. He always likes to lead. He always wants to be in the lead. He wants to be setting the pace. And I think, to be honest, you know, it's one of those things where in the past Josh has been the fastest guy week in, week out. He's set the pace, he's set the tone. And now he's got a little different dynamic because he's racing against three guys. You know, in the past it's been one guy there, or maybe 2 guys, but now he's got 3 or 4 guys. And when we look at the Kawasaki keys to the race, Yosh looking very strong this weekend. We talked about the ability to get some extra parts. They're trying some new things. They're finding some things working. They just have been strong all weekend long. They've been 1 and 2 all weekend long. Cameron had done some pretty good laps up until his accident yesterday, and they're still looking for some pace, are the Yamahas a little bit.
And you know, make no mistake, man, when you're looking at this Yosh is looking strong thing, it's really important for the history of the sport. But Cameron Beaubier.
Yeah, he was my keys to the race with him is Cameron issues. I cannot remember the last time I saw Cameron Beaubier qualify in 7th place. I'm sure we'd have to go back quite a long way for that, unless there was something strange that had happened. And today, he finished that qualifying session in 7th place. We can expect him to just start moving forward as soon as his light goes green here.
Cameron doesn't like to be roughed up in turn number 1, and it's this one.
And I have Fong and Skultz continuing this battle. The reason I have a question mark next to Jake Lewis is because so far this weekend he's been just a little bit off of those guys, and even in that qualifying session he was 1.5 seconds back. Now that doesn't mean that he doesn't have a good race setup on race tires, but I had to put Jake in there because he's done such a fantastic job getting himself back in this championship, winning races and being consistent again. And after these 3 had their little incident at Road America, we got to put Jake Lewis back in there.
All right, let's go to our last minute report with Hannah. It's the Motul last minute report. What do you have, Hannah?
Down here in the pits, you'll notice that number 33, Kyle Wyman, is back after missing the race at Road America. He suffered a concussion after the opportunity to race over at Donington Park. So he was really disappointed to miss the race, but I was speaking with him earlier, and he's very excited to get back out there and hopefully catch up to those front factory boys.
All right, thank you so much. That's the Motul last minute report. As we get ready to go racing here, you can see Marshall signaling everything is good. We're going to clear the grid, upper left-hand part of your screen. That's when those lights go on. So now heart rates are up, and Clutches are out. We're on our way to turn number 1, and a bit of a bobble from Bobby Funk in the middle part of your screen.
Tony gets a great start from that front row, and that's what these guys got to be a little bit cautious of. If he gets out and gets some clean laps, look at Cameron Beaubier start, Greg, from the 3rd row. He's going to work himself all the way up to 2nd, maybe 3rd. Is Josh going to close him off? Tony makes a big mistake by Toni Elias.
He could not get the front end of his motorcycle to play nice, and so he's going to hand over that brief lead to Roger Hayden, and it's the veteran Josh Hayes who's right up there in the mix as well. Is Cam Beaubier going to try to go up the inside? He does successfully, so Beaubier is going to lose a little bit of drive, but he'll take over 2nd. And how about Fong in that Kawasaki?
Unbelievable, and he's got to run on Josh Hayes now, but Cameron Beaubier might, nope, he's trying to take the lead. Roger's in way too deep into turn 5.
So Roger Hayden can't get his Suzuki slowed down, so just like that, it's Yamaha, and Suzuki. So Bobby Fong trying to take advantage. He can't do it, so now it's Cam Beaubier leading the way. A lot of people didn't think this was going to happen. It might take Cam a couple of laps, but he's done it.
From the
third row.
And you got to remember, these bikes are starting on full tanks of fuel, and so Tony runs wide in 1, Rod runs wide in 5. I saw Rod run wide in turn 2, actually. Also, Bobby Fong looking through for a way through. That Superstock bike, when it comes onto this front straightaway, you can see Matthew Skoltz, Kyle Wyman right behind them. Hayden Gillum looks like he's back there too. I don't believe that was Jake. I think it's Hayden Gillum who's just behind Kyle Wyman back there. Josh Hayes runs a little bit wide now in the middle of turn 11. So we've seen mistakes from our 3 top guys. All but 1 guy has not made a mistake of our 4, and that is our defending champion 2 times. Cameron Beaubier has gone from the 3rd row to lead this race on the 1st lap.
I know what Bobby Fong and the Quicksilver latest Motorsports Kawasaki is thinking. He wants to try to get away with these super bikes and put some distance between him and the number 11, Yamalube Westby Racing Matthew Skoltz. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, so here we go. We open up the throttles, and now there's a lot of horsepower being laid down on the front straightaway here at Utah Motorsports Campus. There goes Roger Hayden on that Suzuki. Missed a little bit of a bobble, though, when he tried to pull out of the slipstream.
You get out into that slip, you get out of the air that you're behind Josh, you get out of that air and you start braking, and you can see the bike kind of wobbling back and forth. He wasn't able to make that pass. That said, you look at Josh Hayes' ride, he very much is a point and shoot kind of guys. A lot of his turn entries you can see there are a little bit tighter than the guys that's leading, Cameron Beaubier. So he's going to be, and he's very late on the brakes, is Josh. So he was able to just kind of ride right back around the outside of Raj as they headed, and Josh is in here awful deep now too.
He's sending it sideways, going to get slowed down. There's a good look at 95, Roger Hayden. His teammate back in the mix, Toni Elias, was 11th when he crossed the line, but he's already working his way up. So Hayes right now trying to gather. And it looks like Cam Beaubier's down. You can see the sparks. Unbelievable.
Wow, this has just been such a crazy, crazy year. Cameron Beaubier goes down, and you can see he's very frustrated. That's a very difficult turn. Even though it's a slow corner, what I can tell you all about it is you've got to control your entry speed into this corner, because it will make it seem to where you cannot make the second part of that corner, the second apex. Once again, we got a Superstock rider in 3rd spot in this grid, or in this race, and Bobby Fong's bike looks amazing right now up behind Raj.
Bobby Fong has already scored 2 third-place finishes this season. As here's a look at the replay. Look at the leader. Oh, there he goes.
You can see it just gets wide, Greg, and as soon as it goes wide, that outside part of the track comes up so quickly, you've got to try control that entry speed into that corner, and there's a lot of different ways of going through it. He's trying desperately to get that bike started. These are the mistakes that we talked about in our pre-show that we have not been seeing out of championship leaders throughout most of the last 2 or 3 years. Now we're seeing a lot of them. Josh Hayes, this is a great day for him to start to bring some points back to some of these guys that are ahead of him in the championship.
So right now it's playing in the hands of Josh Hayes, who came to this racetrack telling me, there's Toni Elias. So Toni Elias now trying to get underneath number 2. That's Josh Herron, former Superbike champ himself, who hasn't had a great weekend by any stretch. A lot of laps missed. And it's been kind of what's been going on with he and his team. But Matthew Skoltz, there's the 33 of Kyle Wyman now. He's getting a good education from Toni Elias. Yep. Tony trying to come back from a first corner mistake early on in this race. Jason, you talked about it, full fuel load, but also I know for sure Roger Hayden, he hasn't done a lot of laps on that hard tire that he was thinking about choosing, and I know Tony's on that hard tire. That also may be a situation where they get on the binders the first go around and the rear tire starts to move around, and not a lot of confidence in that compound. around. So Toni Elias now up underneath Josh Herron. We know these riders have some history, as Josh Herron and Toni Elias got together at VIR earlier in the season.
Saw Toni give him a little wave there, like, hey, I got in there a little deep, but it was a clean pass. There was nothing wrong with that pass that Toni made. He's going to the front. He's trying to do what he needs to do to get back up there. Podium's still well within reach here, and we're going to keep an eye on his lap times because we're only on lap 3 of 17. And yeah, right now Toni's a fair way back, Greg. He's only 3.5 seconds back that last lap, 3.2, so he's not a tremendous way back, but it's very difficult to run on your own here and get that clean air. Raj now right up behind Josh Hayes. He's going to be able to take advantage of that draft as they come on that front straightaway. And you heard Josh earlier talking about how the Yosh bikes have a little bit of a mile-an-hour advantage over the Yamahas right this second. So Raj is close up now. You see Cameron Barbier go through turn 1. This is turn 2 now. He's just trying to get himself some points. He's 17th. He's got to get up to 15th, so we'll keep an eye on that also as we go.
We pay 15 to the top 15, so 15th place gets 1 point. Oh, Roger Hayden already gone by on the front straightaway, so using that horsepower that Suzuki has. Now, Roger knows full well, though, that Josh likes to lead, so if Josh has an opportunity, he's definitely going to throw it in there. So Roger Hayden has got to have some confidence that he can start to pull away from Hayes in this infield section, I guess, if there's an infield section of this road course off the straightaway. So Roger Hayden now with his head down as Toni Elias moves into 5th spot, about 2.9 seconds away from these two up front.
Added a 50.3 is that Toni, so he just ran the fastest lap of the race. He is not out of the running of this race just yet, especially if these two guys start playing with each other here a little bit through this infield section. They're going to start getting closer. Bobby Fong still running 3rd. You can see Toni Elias is just back there trying to look like he was going to maybe try to go underneath Matthew here in this turn 6. We'll look in the background and we'll see if he was able to get that done. He was not. So Scholz still holds down a solid 4th place. And right behind him right now, Elias again with the fastest lap of the race, a 50.3. But Raj is just doing what he needs to do. He's starting to gap Josh ever so slightly as they come down here through the attitude corners. Raj just needs to just put his head down. He's seen Toni run wide. He's seen Cameron crash. He needs to put his head down right now, run those clean laps that we know that he can do, and try to separate himself from this field.
You know, if Roger Hayden is indeed on that harder tire, we talked about it before. He said, when I have the soft tire on, I can run a 50.0 at race pace. If I put the harder compound on, a 50.4. 50.490 was the last lap that Roger Hayden did. So the question is was that soft tire going to make the distance? But he also wanted a little bit more heat in that tire, and I think he's gotten it right now.
And you can see that thing spinning pretty good, Greg, as we saw that shot of him coming out of that last corner. Look who's coming back there in the fluorescent yellow. Now he's going to be able to really run some fast times, catch him back up to these lead 3. Tony's going to be able to put his head down. All through here, he's not going to have to worry about anybody being in front of him or any of that. So he's just going to be able to get his head down through all these next little fast-flowing corners here at Utah Motorsports Campus.
You know, talking to Toni Elias before the race, one of the things he said to me was, so far every race this season, didn't matter if it was Saturday or Sunday, they were always going into the race with a little bit of a change, a little bit of a gamble. He said the motorcycle, his GSXR 1000, felt so good for this race that whatever he qualified on was exactly what he's going to race on. And he said mentally, that helped him out quite a bit. Look at Daisuke, his crew chief right there in the middle with the clipboard, his sister sitting in the chair, and his crew looking on. That is the crew for Toni Elias, the 24, as Roger Hayden continues to lead the way in this race. Now about a half a second over Josh Hayes, and Bobby Fong sitting on an overall podium and leading the Pizzazz Superstock 1000 class.
I want to see how much Roger's bike, not through this particular section, but I want to see how much it spins up maybe out of this next left that he's coming towards now and in the last corner. And that's going to tell us something. And that's where the grip from a hard tire to a soft tire is going to be a little bit different. You can see Josh Hayes big time out of the seat there. He's trying his best to get the power down the Yamaha. He wants to get close enough to Raj to where he can do something down the front straightaway, but it's not going to happen this lap, and he's allowed Bobby to get a little bit closer again.
Yeah, because even if the Yamaha is down a little bit on that motor, if he can just stay in the draft and allow Roger to tow him down, even if he can't make a move, then it's going to keep him close. But if Roger snaps the draft, which it looks like it's a little too far back right now, he's going to be able to gap him a little. Here's a look at the Yamaha replay with Josh Hayes.
And you can see that bike starts a natural slide and it looks pretty normal, and then it just starts bucking really bad on Josh. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. He's still running a solid second, 51 flat that last time to Raj's 50.9. So Raj was able to just Like you say, he's just gapping these guys a little bit, taking Bobby Fong along with him, our Superstock rider who has been on the podium in the past overall. He's trying to do it again.
Left part of your screen is a Dunlop running order if you're interested in Cameron Beaubier. He's in 17th spot currently.
And you can see through that shot again how much Raj's bike is spinning on the exit of that really fast 4th gear left-hand corner. Looking back here at Toni, 50.6 that last lap. So he was the quickest of the front 4 that we have right now. But look at Bobby Fong. Bobby Fong has now closed that gap up to Josh. Even on this lap, he's gone through those first 2 splits. He is the fastest rider, or he's done his fastest personal first split already in the race. So he's moving forward.
Pit boards, when they come across start-finish line and that long front straightaway, are how they get information. And I'm sure that Bobby Fong's crew, number 50, our Superstock 1000 leader on that Quicksilver latest Motorsports Kawasaki, is getting signals that the 24, Toni Elias, is on his way.
Yeah, of course, and they're going to see that. And you can see how hard it is for Toni to close the gap now to these leaders. 50.6, 50.9 for Raj. Man, I'll tell you right now, the Lattice Motorsports Kawasaki looks so good mid-corner. Bobby looks like he can just literally put that bike anywhere he wants.
All right, but here's the concern, Jason. In speaking with Bobby before the race, one thing he told me was that how great the motorcycle works at the beginning of the race. When the tires go off, he's got 3 problems. The tires going off, obviously they're spinning, but then it starts to mess with his electronics, including the biggest thing when he rolls off the throttle. If the tires go off and they start spinning, the moment he rolls off the throttle, the thing wants to back in. So I know that for Bobby Fong, he was like, I'm trying to get the biggest gap I can possibly get over Matthew Scults or whoever's going to race me in Superstock 1000, and then try to manage what's going on. So right now, we're still in the good part of the race for Bobby Fong. Replay at the start.
Looking back, look at Cameron Beaubier from the 3rd row. He was able to just get the most perfect launch. He gets into Josh Hayes' draft as they came down into turn 1. Now look at Toni. Toni up front, backing the bike in, and it snaps back on him. Now, Greg, you and I watched qualifying, and something I had mentioned earlier on was how much Toni's bike snaps back when he backs it in. Lap after lap, I watched him do this, and that snap back there is all it takes. When a bike backs in, if it backs in and then comes back underneath you as you tip a bike in, and it comes back comfortably, it's fine. Right there, the bike's backing in, and with that tire being brand new with so much grip, and when it snaps back like that, it just upsets the whole chassis, sends you straight, and that's what we saw happen right there.
So Roger Hayden leading the way from Josh Hayes, Bobby Fong, Toni Elias in 4th spot. So Roger Hayden, who has 1 race win this season, and 3 second-place finishes and 2/3 for the number 95, who sits 4th in points, 20 back from his teammate Toni. He certainly would like it to be able to finish this way, because he would claw back 12 points in the championship if Toni was going to stay in 4th spot. But with the amount of laps we have left in this race, it's kind of hard to think that Toni Elias is going to settle for 4th.
But he hasn't really closed up that gap as quickly as I had thought he was going to. You know, these guys are all in the 50s. All of them but Josh Hayes that last lap was in the 50s. You can see Bobby opens up this corner a little bit more than Josh. We'll start paying attention to what rear grip looks like, especially on our corner entries. We'll start looking at that, Greg. With Bobby, he just doesn't have the legs down the front straightaway of the Yamaha or Raj's bike. Looking here, fastest lap that time through for Bobby Fong, his personal best, 50.7. Now, that time Toni goes 50.5, battle for 6th back here. Josh Herron and Matthew Scults. Scults just lets the brakes off and is going to lead him through it in this battle for 5th.
Man, it really seems oftentimes that the number 2, Josh Herron, on the HelmetSounds.com Western Services Mean Yamaha, no matter what trouble that they have in race and qualifying, he really digs deep when it comes to race time.
He does, and you know, Josh is a racer, and he had a problem. He had a big problem this morning, and when I was walking by there earlier, I saw a frame, so I kind of have an idea of what that problem probably was. But just looking, he hasn't got a ton of track time again this weekend. 51.1 is his best lap this race, and he's up behind Matthew here. And, you know, just going to try to get some laps under his belt, hopefully make some changes for tomorrow for himself.
That attack motor, though, Richard Stamboli doing the motor and electronics. I mean, when he opens up that Yamaha R1 throttle on that number 2 bike, it certainly can scoot along. But Matthew Scults having an up and down weekend so far, always with a smile on his face. The South African rider settling in Georgia. He lives near the shop where the, you know, Yamaha is built. The Westby Racing Machine. So Matthew Scults settling into the United States and his role in this team. One of the rising stars in this sport, trying to wrap up a Superstock 1000 championship. A good look over his shoulder, though, to see not only where Josh Herrin was, but anyone else in the Superstock 1000 class is.
That is correct. And when we want to go back and look at who's third in Superstock, just so our viewers know, Bryce Prince is holding down that third spot right now with Danny Eslick behind him, Hayden Gillen behind him. So the struggles that we kind of felt that Jake Lewis might have are actually happening. He ran a 52.2, but he's also, the last lap was only at a 53.2, so he's struggling. And we see Josh Herrin go past Scults here on that front straightaway.
And you saw that Toni Elias has now caught Bobby Fong as well. So Elias was on the front of our screen. He is right back on the back of that group. So now things are starting to tighten up front as Josh Herrin gets around, and there it is. The group is basically all together right now as Toni Elias.
It's really amazing what one lap can do. One lap, Greg. These guys were a little bit more separated. Now they're all together again.
The Spaniard, Toni Elias, in 4th spot on your screen as Bobby Fong, like you're saying, Jason, he really opens that corner up on entry, even though he sees Josh Hayes with those tighter lines. It just works for the way Bobby rides and the setup of his motorcycle.
Yeah, he opens up a lot of places in the track, and this is where Tony's right behind him, and you can see specifically the Superbike guys are they'll turn it in just a little bit earlier, and if Tony's catching him right now and seeing that, all you got to do is just give him a little notion that you're going to leave that door open, and he's going to go underneath you. But again, a tremendous effort by Bobby Fong, again proving that when we get this guy on a Superbike, we're all going to be lucky to watch him battle even closer to the front. What he's doing on a Superstock bike is remarkable, and these guys have all closed things back together here. I'm looking at the splits, and that first split again, Tony was quickest. The second split, really, really close, but he's there now. He's going to be able to draft these guys. You can almost see, it almost seemed like he looked a little relaxed there on the brakes. Like, okay, now I'm here. Now I've got to just kind of make a plan.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because, I'm thinking at this point, Tony's done the hard work right now, and I'm sure that he knows it's Josh Hayes. Wow, the door was left open from Roger Hayden, so Hayes just slid right up underneath, and he'll take over to lead. But we know that Yoshimura is very strong on this front straightaway. Here comes Roger. He didn't even look like he was in the draft.
Didn't even look like he did it there, but you watch Josh. Josh's going to try to go back underneath him on the brakes.
And Tony going by the Kawasaki as well. So a lot going on as Hayes and Hayden go side by side, and Roger's got to lift for a second. So it's Hayes, and now the 24 of Toni Elias takes over 3rd spot from Bobby Fong. A lot going on there in turn number 1.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And Josh wants to lead this race. He wants to get through the infield. He has spotted something with Raj. That bike of Raj's has been spinning, especially through here. I've watched Raj's bike spin consistently through that turn since the opening lap. He's not going to be able to go underneath Josh Hayes here. Now, if Raj opens up that door at all in the next right, expect to see Tony go underneath him, because Tony's been really strong in this next right-hander. He's not quite close enough, or is he?
Oh, up the inside on the brakes. Roger leaves the door open. No, Tony has to park it. He doesn't want to take his teammate out, and no contact there. So Tony had a notion, but he rolled out of it, and it continues to be Hayes, Hayden, Elias, and Fong.
And Raj is really fast to that right-hander there. It looks like Josh struggles a little bit on his entry into Witchcraft, that fast right. Raj was able to close back in on the back of him, but the problem is now Josh is going to have to worry about Tony being able to double draft both him and Raj down that front straightaway. Josh hasn't been able to pull quite a big enough gap yet to have to worry about that.
Cameron Beaubier still in 17th spot. 1 lap down after it took him so long to get that motorcycle started. So Beaubier out there doing laps right now.
But the thing I worry about right now is that Raj got to the front, I think tried to put his head down. I think he tried to get his head down and try to get away, and he wasn't able to do that. So he's going to have to restructure his race strategy. His bike is spinning more than the 2 guys in front of him. Again, out of that last corner, we saw it spinning now. Raj is going to get up alongside of Josh, but you watch Josh, especially if they go in from this position, Josh will try to outbrake Raj again. It's not close enough. Raj is doing a good job getting in there.
And Toni Elias with a double draft gets right up on the back of him. I thought for a second Tony might try to get aggressive in turn number 1. He thinks better of it with 6 laps remaining in this one. This is the battle in the MotoAmerica Superbike class, and it's for the race win. It's Roger Hayden, number 95, Yoshimura Suzuki, number 4, Josh Hayes, Monster Energy, Yamaha Factory Bike, and Toni Elias Yoshimura, Suzuki, and then the first of our Superstock riders still there in the back of the frame. I didn't think a lot of people thought it was possible for a Superstock 1000 to be this close.
He might have thought to himself, I got 9.2 seconds. Look at Raj. That was strange. I'm not sure what Raj hit or something happened there, but look at Toni trying to go underneath Josh. That's a hard move to do in that particular corner. And I'm not sure what Raj ran over there, Greg. That was interesting. We saw some blue smoke come from the tire.
Yeah.
But he has been spinning up more than anybody, like I said, and that would be my concern.
And it looked like it came from the tire. It didn't look like it came from anywhere else. It just looked like maybe he ran over something on the racetrack. He was out a little bit wider than I think we've seen. So no drama there, and he certainly didn't know about it because it was behind him.
Right, and Bobby Fong, you know, to his credit, has stayed there this whole race, but he might come by that board this next lap and see plus 10 on his board to the next guy, which is Matthew Skoltz, and just go back into the kind of championship mode. He's shown that he can run up front. So, but now we're going to have to see, will Josh try that same move again as they come into that last corner? We're going to come out of this right-hander. Raj opened up this next left a little bit too much before, and Josh just snuck underneath him. I don't think Raj will do that again.
Beautiful shots from our BN Sports crew, and it still falls in line. Now we're going to have to see, this is the time when Toni Elias is really going to try to twist the grip here. Is he going to use that double draft? They look pretty evenly spaced, but this is the part where the Suzuki looks pretty strong as they start to get up into the higher revs. Out of the draft comes Toni Elias. We know how good he is on the brakes. He sends it sideways up. Hayes goes, oh no! Yep. So Toni Elias gets in there.
You can still see Tony's bike snap back there. Did you see how it kind of snaps back just a little? But you know, at this point, Greg, Tony's the guy to beat. He's the guy that's come all the way from that off-track excursion in the beginning. Now, when you come through this left, this next left, you can see Raj running wide. The bike's all over. This next left, I want you guys to look and see how much Raj's bike spins really bad through that next left. But you can see here, Toni going underneath. Josh doesn't want to give that space up. Tony's got the thing backing in. On there, you see, you got a little bit of rear brake going.
Yeah.
But that bike just snaps back. There's a big bump in the middle of that turn that Josh Hayes is actually going around there. And but Toni was able to make that pass nice and clean.
Good job by Toni as he goes up the inside. And so Toni Elias now into the lead from all the way back in like 11th or 12th early on in this race. And now it is the 24, the Spaniard, who will take over the lead here. Now Roger Hayden gets a little look at what Toni Elias has been able to do on this racetrack.
Yeah, that's a worry for these guys. That's going to be a big worry because, you know, watching Toni on this harder tire, his bike has been working a lot better, it seems, than has Raj's bike. So this is going to just be a little bit of a worry, especially you can see the gap already starting to open up. Tony's going to do his best to try to put down 2 or 3 of hard laps to try to see if he can break those guys behind him.
So Toni Elias leads the way from Roger Hayden, already starting to put in a bike length or 2 gap. This is an important section of racetrack because if Roger Hayden can stay in the draft of Toni Elias, those riders, although Toni looks a lot smaller in person than Roger Hayden, they're pretty close in terms of weight. And now, God, Toni got such a great drive out of the front straightaway.
Great drive. You see he used up all that racetrack on the exit there, and Raj is doing his best, but this is going to be the lap. If Raj has got to try to stay with him this lap. You know, and he's watched Toni run off the track. He knows that Toni came from a long way back. But you can see Raj really didn't make up any time on that front straightaway or going into turn 1. So this is going to be the lap here where if I'm waiting for my screen to light up through this first split to see if Toni's got his head down. 26.7. Raj just ran his fastest first split.
Still not as quick as Toni, though.
Still not as quick as Toni. That's exactly right. So he's doing everything he can to just kind of stay with him.
Toni Elias, when he snatches those brakes, the rear end gets off the ground for just a moment. That seems pretty typical for Toni, but it looks pretty dramatic on our beautiful shots here that BN Sports is providing us. So Toni Elias, 24, Yoshimura Suzuki, is leading right now after running off in the first corner and fell back in the running order. We saw him back there as far as 11th. And he has clawed his way methodically back up to the front. Not setting the world on fire in terms of lap times, Jason, in terms of fastest laps. He does have the fastest lap of the race of 50.399. And that is just a tick faster than Roger's fastest lap of the race of 50.490.
It's just eking out ever so slightly, though. And that's the hard part. It's a 10th here or there.
You know, I thought for a moment that Josh Hayes might be falling into the grasp of Bobby Fong. Bobby Fong really in certain sections is really able to get that Kawasaki working, but when you get onto that front straightaway, there's a difference between a Superbike and a Superstock 1000. More modifications allowed in the Superbike class, and that creates more drive and more top end.
No question. And Yeah, for sure, Greg. It's exactly right. When they get onto this front straightaway, they're able to just get away a little bit. So we're looking at 50.3 that lap, fastest lap of the race. Toni Elias, 50.3, 50.6 for Raj, 51.1, and a 51.2 for Bobby. So Tony's done exactly kind of what we thought. Look at that bike backing in. Looked like he's in there a little bit deep again, but we'll see if he can get that thing controlled.
Let's take a look at the Yamaha replay right here. It's Josh Hayes.
Josh Hayes going through that final corner. You can see he's off the brakes. At this track, because of the elevation, you can start to roll the gas on, maybe even a little bit earlier than other tracks because it zaps a bit of the power being at a higher elevation. But Josh is running a great race right now, holding on to that third. He's going to run out over that curbing. But Raj is doing his best right now to go with Tony, and that's a great sign for him. I want to, being able to look at this view, you can see Tony's bike's now starting to move under initial acceleration.
Certainly is.
Raj's bike spins a lot further down the track, it seems to me, than Tony's. Tony's bike right now is just under initial acceleration, especially out of the lefts. We got a few more left-handers here than we do rights, and so we're going to see that left-hand tire wear get worn out just a little bit more.
Bobby Fong choosing the soft tire, so definitely Toni Elias and Bobby Fong on different rear tires. Bobby likes to feel that softer Dunlop tire, and he thought he could make it last.
I was trying to see what was hanging off Bobby's bike from that last shot, but it's not. It's his knee puck. So he must have caught that knee puck. If you get a good look, you see that knee puck?
Yeah.
It's tore. So he's caught his leg on something on the inside of the track, and it's peeled his knee puck and broke it. Actually broke the knee puck. You can see it just under his right elbow there. You can see that little piece hanging. So he's hit his leg somewhere very hard.
And that's not an easy thing. When you lose a knee puck like that, putting your knee on the ground, it's not easy.
I don't know if he's lost it, Greg. He still has it. He still has
a
it.
little bit, yeah.
Those are leather knee pucks that he has on there.
Oh yeah, that's fully there.
And so the leather knee pucks are a little bit different than the plastic ones that you see so many people run on. Everybody likes a different feel. Josh Hayes also runs kind of like a leather knee puck. So what he's done is he's caught his leg on the inside of something there. But these guys at the front, 50.8, 50.7 this last lap. So Tony put his head down, ran that 50.3 as we go a little further back. Look at this, Jake Lewis in that battle for third with Hayden Gillum. We didn't write Jake off, but obviously he has found some pace here as the fuel load is going down. He ran a 51.8 2 laps ago. I was watching his progress.
Jake Lewis on the 85, that's the M4 X-Star Suzuki riders. He pulls out of the slipstream of the 169, the Cycle World Suzuki rider. Now, as for Hayden Gillum, the rider who's leading the way right there, this is only the second weekend that they've had the GSXR 1000, the 2017 model, where Jake Lewis and his crew has had it. So, you know, right now, Hayden Gillum, it was actually his first weekend where he's able to go to Super Pole, and they did not get a chance to put a qualifying tire on there. So these two riders having a good run at it. Like you're saying, this is the battle for 8th spot.
Yep, and the biggest difference you're going to see here is one guy's been on it a little bit longer, and this is a great battle for third in our Superstock class. Jake Lewis knows he needs to get up there and get as most points as he can because of the two guys that are first and second being Fong and Skoltz. So you might see a little bit of development as far as one bike over another here, but Hayden's doing a great job. I had a really nice conversation with him today about some of the struggles that he's had, some of the things that they've had to do as far as what you need to do to get a new bike kind of up and running. And every weekend it's getting a little bit better. He had a problem in qualifying with all the electronics kind of shutting down and that kind of thing. That's the kind of teething problems that you go through when you're starting on a new bike. Jake went through it, but he's got a little bit more time. Look at this, Greg. Look at the front.
The front is Toni Elias now, and it looks like Roger Hayden might be falling into the grasp of Josh Hayes. So Toni Elias, with a lot of work to do, has done it now as we click off. About 3 laps to go, and 4 laps to go in this one. So Toni Elias leading the way at 150.6, so only 0.3 off his fastest lap. This is crazy.
Yeah, but what he's got a bike, and you can see this is where he went underneath Heron. This is kind of where the charge was about. He was about midway through his charge here. He went underneath Heron in turn 6. Then he was able to go underneath Bobby Fong for 3rd place as they head down into turn 1. And he knew at this stage that he was able to run back and get these leaders. Now, this was his pass on Josh Hayes. Each pass got a little bit more difficult. He pulls out of the draft, realizes Josh doesn't want to give that time up. The bike sideways and snaps back underneath him, but he was able to get through. Now, this is turn 6. Tony has this ability to just kind of go straight to the curbing, straight to the apex of these corners. Reminds me a lot of Kenan Safoglu over in World Supersport. Lets the brakes off, gets right down to the apex, applies a little bit of brake to once he realizes he's made that pass, and this is what the results are. If this guy had got out in front early, it might have been curtains earlier for these guys behind him, but now he's really depressed him by showing them that he can run wide, go all the way back to 10th or 11th, and still do the business.
And I can tell you from talking to Toni Elias and Roger Hayden both before the race, they did not expect this. No one expected to have one rider check out from the rest of the field. They all thought that all 4 of them were going to be covered up all the way to the end, but this is playing right into Toni Elias' hands as Roger Hayden had the advantage early on. Again, this is a Yoshimura Suzuki crew that has a new motorcycle for the year, and they're coming to this track for the first time. And Tony's crew really, with Tony's feedback and how hard they were working, they got this thing sorted out early.
Yeah, he's got it sorted. We're going to come up to the white flag right now, Greg. This is going to be the last lap. He's got himself already a 1.7. It's probably going to go up to more like 2.5 second lead over this battle for second that's going to rage all the way to the finish line. As Josh Hayes is trying to get up behind Raj. You see Bobby Fong back there, and that's Cameron Beaubier behind Bobby Fong, who they lapped a couple of laps ago. So he's a lap down, even though he's back there in our shot. Roger's got to try to put a good solid lap together, because you know with Josh Hayes behind you, he's going to fire a shot or two off at you as we get another good look at Bobby Fong going through the turn 3 into the turn 4 area.
Another strange race here in the Motul Superbike class in Pizzazz Superstock 1000 as Cameron Beaubier started from row number 3, worked his way to the lead, then crashed. Toni Elias ran wide on the first corner, has clawed his way back up to the front on this final lap. And great battles going on with the Superstock class. Jake Lewis is now in front of Hayden Gillum back there for that Superstock podium. But it's this rider right here, Toni Elias, who really enjoys coming here to Utah and flowing this racetrack. He just has such a rhythm with it, Jason.
Absolutely, yeah. He looks really solid, and I think he's going to be really happy with the tire choice, because he had to work his tire harder than anybody to get up there, and it still looks like it's underneath him pretty well. This guy here is going to collect another 20 points in his pocket, it looks like, because Josh isn't quite close enough to him. And it's going to be a nice rebound race for Josh Hayes also. I'll tell you right now, Rogers better not leave the door open in that last corner if Josh can get close enough. But right now, Rogers got this situation under control. He went by his pit board last time, probably with a 0.5 plus on his board over Josh Hayes. And yeah, here he comes in the last couple of corners.
Final set of corners to navigate for Toni Elias, the Yoshimura Suzuki rider. As he comes through this right-hand corner, the throttle to the stop, and he's going to head to the checkered flag, and Toni Elias will take his 5th win of the season here in MotoAmerica in the Motul Superbike class. Roger Hayden in 2nd spot and Josh Hayes in 3rd. And what a run for Toni Elias, overcoming such incredible obstacles. Bobby Fong, 4th place, and our Superstock 1000 winner will stand on the podium yet again. For Bobby Fong, also his 5th win of the season.
Good job for Josh Herring coming home 5th. You're going to see Kyle Wyman and Matthew Skultz there. And look in the background, Jake Lewis was able to get by Hayden Gillum. Great run for Jake Lewis to finish 3rd, and then a great run also for Hayden Gillum, being so close to the podium. It's not going to be long before we see him battling with the leading Superstock guys. You got to look at Don Sakakura, Mabrazaz there down in the Yosh pit.
Quite possibly Jason DeSalvo is having a problem on the last lap. Jason DeSalvo, who is up into about 11th spot, is falling down our board here.
He just went across the line.
He did,
right?
Okay. The implications of that, though, Jason, had he not finished, that would have bumped Cameron Beaubier up to 15th place, and that would have scored him 1 single point. Right now, Cam Beaubier has crossed the line a lap down, and he is noted in 16th spot with Max Blinders and Matthew Orange still to come across the line.
Yep.
So that won't be final until Max and Matthew Orange come across the line, but it's all about, there's a good look at Cam Beaubier. No windscreen that entire race. It'll be interesting to talk to him after and see how well that motorcycle made out, if he's got all foot pegs and everything else. So a good job by him. Shows a lot of heart and a lot of desire.
Really interesting to see him tipping over, because a lot of these guys, it just goes to show the pressure at the front, because the pace, and you know, he did that very early on in the lap, and I'm good to see the bike was able to get up and finish. But you know, it's going to be a no point scoring day. He's going to give up 25 points to Tony and all of his other challengers, and make his job just a little bit more difficult today.
Monster Energy Amalube Yamaha Racing, Cameron Beaubier, the #1 plate, with a bit of a disaster. He'll finish in 16th spot officially. Well, as the results sit right now, the official results get signed a little bit later on. So he will be just outside the points. But Bobby Fong Maximum points in the Superstock 1000 class, and will stand on top of the podium in that class, just off the Superbike podium. It would have been his third of the year. All right, we're going to take a break here on beIN Sports, but you want to stay with us because on the other side of that break, we're going to talk to Toni Elias and find out how that amazing run to the victory happened. Stay tuned. MotoAmerica on beIN Sports was presented by Dunlop and the all-new Sportmax Q3 Plus. Now you don't have to sacrifice mileage to get top performance. Dunlop Q3 Plus, and powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. Back here at Utah Motorsports Campus in Tooele, Utah, Cameron Beaubier and his crew, including Jake Zemke, the last Honda Superbike to win here at Utah Motorsports Campus, having a little bit of a conversation about how that race went. So they're downloading all that information, and now we have a look at Parc Ferme and Toni Elias. What an incredible race win for Toni, and he had a lot of work to do, but it's Toni Elias, number 1 spot, number 95, Roger Hayden in second, and Josh Hayes, number 4, will hold on to another podium. Only his third podium appearance. But for Toni Elias, Jason, his 5th win of the season, and he did it in fine style. He did it in great style, and he's just shown from the beginning of the year that, you know, he's going to be there all the way through all this stuff. And all these guys have battled a little bit of bad luck. Today was Cameron's turn, which is a shame, because I think he would have been there, obviously, but just pushed a little hard. But Tony's going to be there to the finish, and these guys can't let this guy get on a run. That's going to be the hard thing. If he starts getting on a run, and that points gap starts to, you know, really widen up, it's going to be hard for these guys to catch back up. Let's go to our race winner, Toni Elias, because he certainly had a fun race, Hannah.
It definitely was a fun race for you. You know, you had you made a mistake pretty early on, but you were able to catch back up. Tell us how you did it.
Yeah, I'm so happy because the race, it has been a tough race, but finally I enjoy a lot. I did a very good start. My goal was start to doing a pace like the end, but it was impossible. I did a mistake in the first corner. I was in second. I don't know why. I mistake. I go straight, and when I come back, it was difficult. I didn't want to lose the brain and crash with other riders. Step by step, I start to overthinking, coming back, and at the end, I could catch the leading group. At the beginning, I was thinking I didn't have time enough, but at the end, the last 7 laps, everything goes on my side. My pace was still good, like this morning. What the work we did during the weekend for the race, we could show in the last laps. I could stay in 50s like at the beginning of the race, and at the end I didn't want problems. I tried to open a gap, and at the end was more easy than what I was thinking, because I know at the end of the race is when Roger is there, Cameron or Josh or Bobby, everything can happen.
All right, well, congratulations. Thanks, Toni.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Sorry.
Toni wants to thank his whole team, of course, Yoshimura, Suzuki crew, everybody for working so hard this weekend. And they really had that motorcycle dialed in, Jason, and had it dialed in early. And you can see the result of that. Toni was able to focus 100% on his race and not worry about the bike underneath him.
Well, it's got to give him a lot of confidence knowing that he came from so far back and still won the race by 2.5 seconds on the hardest tire that we have. And he was able to control his pace. He was able to be patient. You know, that's a guy that understands what he has going into the race and knowing what his competitors have also. He knew he could still take his time, get through those guys methodically, and still have enough chance to win the race, which is what he did.
Well, for Roger Hayden, it looked like it was going to be his race early on, but didn't quite work out that way. But second place, and on the podium, he's with Hannah.
That's right. I've got Roger here with me. A lot of back and forth with your teammate today. You were leading there for a little while, trying to hold on to Toni at the end there. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, I got a good start, and in the beginning, me and Josh was battling pretty good, and I knew Toni was there or was coming, and man, I got in front of Josh, and I kind of got my rhythm, and I felt pretty good. And then when Toni came by me, he was just a little faster than me today, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. But happy with Suzuki, first and second, the whole Yoshimura Suzuki team, and try to do better tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Roger.
All right, so Roger Hayden, second in the Motul Superbike class. And like he's saying, it's Yoshimura Suzuki standing 1-2. And, you know, we talked about it, speculated at the beginning of the year, if Yosh could get these bikes tuned in quickly and start to win races. And they certainly have, as a look at Josh Hayes' Monster Energy Yamaha, and a good job for Josh Hayes. Pretty impressive, huh?
Great. I mean, the thing is the guy has come back from what he came back from, and then, you know, it's great. We'll see how he's feeling down there. Hannah, is he hurting?
Josh, the boys upstairs in the booth are wondering how you're feeling, if you're still hurting after your crash last race, or if you're feeling a bit of a sense of redemption back on the podium after Road America.
It definitely played a role in my race. You know, the whole last couple of weeks after then was all rest and recovery, not train and charge. So I feel a little behind the ball. I felt like Roger gave me a couple of opportunities and I wasn't able to take advantage of it there at the end, but I had a good bike. You know, their bikes has their strong points and our bike has its strong points, and I still have a bike that can win races, I think. And I feel like I didn't get my job done as well as I should have today, but I'm still excited to be on the podium. I felt bad for Cam, and you know, I'm gonna take what I learned today, come back tomorrow and try to take a better fight to him tomorrow.
All right, well, congrats and best of luck to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Always thinking, man, Josh Hayes, he knows about racing, and one race doesn't define a career. It certainly doesn't define a season.
Not at all. I mean, you're exactly right there. He will go back, and he's got such an experienced crew. He's won a bunch of championships with these guys on that bike, and he wants to go back there and try to make the bike better for tomorrow. He saw what Toni did. He knows. Josh knows that Toni came from a long way back and was able to run them down, and he wants to make some big changes for tomorrow.
Let's take a look at the Liqui race results. It is Toni Elias over Roger Hayden and Josh Hayes. Bobby Fong, Josh Herron, like you were talking about, 5th place for Josh Herron after the weekend he's had. He had some good laps on Friday, but a little bit of a ruckus today. Kyle Wyman coming back from his injury, a good 6th place finish. And then it's Matthew Skultz, Jake Lewis, and Hayden Gillum, all on the Dunlop final results page. Danny Eslick, a fan favorite, back in 10th. Bryce Prince, he's starting to claw his way back up there in the Superstock 1000. It is his rookie year. David Anthony in 12th after actually nearly destroying his Kawasaki earlier on this weekend. Jason DeSalvo holds on to 13th. Max Flinders in the points in 14th, and Matthew Orange as well. And then there is our reigning champion, Cameron Beaubier, who will take 16th spot and the first non-points paying position.
Yeah, that's a frustrating day for him to really not even get anything from it. And you get an update here on our points now, our Liqui points system as we see here. Tony's 185 points, and look what happened. 25-point now lead.
One full race.
It's a full race, and look at Cameron Beaubier, 39 points back. He's going to have to push hard to get those points back. Josh Hayes jumps up to 4th now, I think, overall. Bobby Fong, Matthew Skultz, Jake Lewis, Josh Herron in 8th, Danny Eslick in 9th.
Bobby Fong only 10 points back from Josh Hayes in this one, and Fong having a great go at it. Here's a look at Parc Ferme, and you can see that there is the Motul podium as the Yoshimura Suzuki, Toni Elias and Roger Hayden will stand 1-2, and Josh Hayes in 3rd spot. So again, just a very crazy season, Jason, looking at this podium. I mean, we have seen some incredible things. Toni Elias coming back from, you know, Rose back, and Cameron Beaubier coming back and taking the lead and crashing and all this crazy stuff that's gone on.
It seems like every race weekend, it's like something different happens to one of these guys, where the championship, we've seen the championship look like it's like being blown open, and then all of a sudden people are back in it. But right now, that guy on top, 25-point lead, don't want to let him get too much further ahead.
Toni Elias with his 5th win on the season. Everybody's got to go figure out what's going to happen tomorrow in Superbike race number 2. We're going to take a break here on beIN Sports. When we come back, we'll talk to our Superstock 1000 winner. So don't go anywhere. We're back at Utah Motorsports campus here in Tooele, Utah. Day 1 of race action, concluding here at MotoAmerica for the Motul Superbike and Pizzazz Superstock 1000 class. And Hannah is with our Pizzazz Superstock 1000 class winner, Bobby Fong.
When I was chatting with Bobby earlier, he mentioned, you know, he's not out to win his Superbike championship, but he tends to be up there racing with the guys and on the podium with them pretty often. You were really close to that today, but how are you feeling about your race win?
I'm really excited. You know, it's good to run with the super bikes, and it's obviously really good to win our class. And you know, I was giving it everything I can out there, and hopefully we have another shot tomorrow at running with the super bikes. But I just can't thank my Quicksilver latest motors, Kawasaki, enough for giving me an awesome motorcycle all weekend, and we'll try to do everything again tomorrow.
All right, best of luck to you. Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Bobby Fong. That'll mix some things up in the championship, as Bobby's bike looked really good.
I couldn't agree with you more. His bike, not only did it look amazing, but and it's not going to happen, but if he had a big points lead where you didn't have so many ramifications of throwing the thing down the road and having to go back and talk to George about that, I'd be really interested to see how much he'd be willing to hang it out a little bit more, because not only does his bike look good, he looks like he's riding pretty easy. Like I don't want to say it's easy. He's going to come to me and go, Jay, I'm not riding easy. I'm riding as hard as I can.
Yeah.
But the thing is it looks fairly easy for him to do what he did today, as we've seen that at a couple other tracks also. So outstanding job.
All right, let's go back down to Hannah, who has second place finisher in Bazaz Superstock 1000.
That's right. I'm here with Matthew Skoltz. Second place finish for you today. You just mentioned, you know, you're having a hard time keeping up with Bobby. How was that for you?
Yeah, throughout the practice sessions, I kind of thought that we had the pace to be running up front, but it just didn't turn out like that. Bobby had a really solid pace going. So I'm pretty sure that we'll go back to the pits and try to figure out where we went wrong and just try to take it from there and hopefully be battling up front for the second race.
All right, thanks, Matthew.
Perfect, guys, thank you.
All right, so Matthew Skoltz now with about a point lead in the championship.
Yeah, sorry about that. With at the end of the race there, Greg, for sure what ended up happening was he lost a lot of pace towards the end. And I think that's the thing he's going to have to look at is over a long distance. He was able to run kind of the laps at the beginning of the race, but then he wasn't able to sustain that. So that's something that they're going to have to look into, and it could be a tire thing or whatever they might have been doing.
So in that Superstock 1000 championship, it is really, really close. Let's go back down to Hannah, who is with our third place finisher, who had to battle for that podium today.
You definitely put up a fight for this podium today, and here you are. How are you feeling right now? Tell us about your race.
Yeah, you know, I'm a little bit disappointed just because that's the farthest I've been back all season, so it's a little bit frustrating, but the whole M4XR Suzuki team's working very hard to give me a good bike, and we're getting there a little bit, but you know, it's not enough because Bobby and Matthew literally just smoked me today, and it's not a good feeling because at MotoAmerica I was right there with them, so we'll just keep working hard. Luckily we have another chance to try tomorrow, and we'll look at some data, try some things on to improve the bike and try to get better. You know, my parents are back home watching, so say hello to them and all my family, friends, and everyone supporting me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, so Jake Lewis there, happy to be standing on the podium, but he's focused.
No, and I love just listening to Jake's interviews after, because again, he's very honest with himself and things, and he's better than to be this far back. But that's getting a new bike, you know, coming to tracks that they don't know and testing things that they haven't been able to test. You know, he'll be better tomorrow. He'll be closer to those guys, and I'd really be interested to know what happened at the beginning of that race. He might have been getting in big battles with people and not being able to get up to the front fast enough.
Well, that is the Bazaz Superstock 1000 and Motul Superstock class, and that racing is done. We have more on the other side. Don't go anywhere on BN Sports. Exciting Motul Superbike class race is in the books, and what a race it was, Jason Britmore. Let's take a look at what happened in this race, because it was a bit unexpected right from the beginning.
Yeah, we had Cameron Bovier coming from the third row with a kind of a normal looking front row with our two Yosh bikes and Josh Hayes. Tony got a great start, and you heard him say maybe he backshifted one too many gears back to second. Got the thing sideways, and you see where it put him. All the way back to like 11th or 12th spot. He had to go through a lot of people, but Raj Hayden in the front then got inherited the lead from Tony doing that. He ran wide in turn 5, which gave the guy from third row the lead. Cameron Bovier led first couple laps. Now you're going to see he's in there a little bit too fast, a little bit too wide, a little too much front brake. Next thing you know, he's on the ground, Greg. That's a very tricky turn, as we talked about. And there's our defending champion down in the dirt. Now, this guy started methodically picking his way through as he goes underneath Josh Heron here in the turn 6 area. Gives Josh a little wave of haste. Hopefully no hard feelings there. Rod, though, had been taken back by Josh Hayes. He wanted to get back to the front. He uses the draft of Josh Hayes and the power of that Yoshimura Suzuki to plow his way back up to the front. These two guys kind of had gap people. We saw Bobby Fogg hanging out in third the whole time. Then Raj opened the door. He tried to make a getaway, probably on the 6th or 7th laps. Couldn't quite pull a big enough gap, and Josh was able to go underneath him. Tony went by Bobby. Then he tries to go underneath Josh as they go into turn 1 here. A little harder pass, gets the bike sideways, gets it back underneath him, gets it turned. Now he had one more guy to pass, and he's going to do it from a long way back going into turn 6. You can see how far back he was when he decided to make that effort going into turn 6. Just lets the brakes off, lets the bike run up underneath, trail brakes in there, gets by Raj, and really was never headed again as he comes across the start-finish line to win yet another race, extend his points lead, and show to this field that he can do it coming from a big mistake in turn 1.
And that was the Motul Superbike and Pizzazz Superstock 1000 race up front. As